I watched my husband slow dance with another woman at our second anniversary party. While everyone stared in shock, I smiled and raised my glass, because what they didn't know was that by sunrise, every penny in his accounts would be mine. Here's how I planned the perfect revenge. Before I tell you how I turned my husband's betrayal into my biggest victory, hit that like button if you've ever been underestimated. And subscribe, because you won't believe the twists coming up. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. You know that feeling when your whole world shifts in just one moment? When everything you thought was real suddenly feels like a lie. That's exactly what happened to me on a Tuesday afternoon in March. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. Because the beginning is where I learned that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones planning to destroy you. My name is Taylor, and 2 years ago, I thought I had found my forever person. Liam walked into my life like he owned the place, confident, charming, with these big dreams about changing the world through technology. I was running my own marketing firm, working 16-hour days to build something that was mine, when he swept me off my feet with talk of partnerships and power couples and building an empire together. We got married after knowing each other for barely a year. Everyone said we were moving too fast, but when you know, right? Or at least that's what I told myself when I signed those papers that made us legal partners in business and in life. Liam had this tech startup idea, and I had the marketing skills to make it successful. We were going to conquer the world together. For the first year and a half, it felt like we were actually doing it. His company, Cloud Tech Solutions, was growing fast. My marketing campaigns were bringing in clients left and right. We moved into this beautiful house in the suburbs, the kind of place I used to drive past as a kid and dream about living in someday. We had matching Tesla cars, designer furniture, and dinner parties where we'd laugh with our friends about how lucky we were to find each other. But success has a way of changing people, and I started noticing things. Little things at first. Liam would come home later and later, always with some excuse about investor meetings or client calls. He'd guard his phone like it held state secrets, taking it to the bathroom, keeping it face down during dinner. When I'd ask about his day, his answers got shorter and more vague. The real wake-up call came on that Tuesday in March, 3 months before our second anniversary. I was at home, sick with the flu, when Liam rushed out for what he said was an emergency client meeting. He forgot his laptop on the kitchen counter, and it was still logged into his messages. I wasn't trying to spy, I swear. I was just moving it so I could make some soup, and the screen lit up with a notification that made my blood run cold. Can't wait to feel your hands on me again. Tonight can't come fast enough. The message was from someone named Candace, and it definitely wasn't about a business meeting. My hands were shaking as I scrolled up through their conversation. Months of messages, plans to meet at hotels, him complaining about me, calling me controlling, and saying he felt trapped, her telling him he deserved better, that he should just leave me and be happy. The worst part, they were talking about our anniversary party, like it was some kind of joke, like it was just another obstacle to get through before they could be together openly. I closed that laptop and sat in my kitchen for 2 hours, crying until I couldn't cry anymore. Then something inside me shifted. The hurt was still there, burning in my chest like acid, but it was joined by something else, something cold and calculating and completely focused. Liam thought he was playing me for a fool, but he had no idea who he was dealing with. You see, growing up as a Black woman in corporate America teaches you things about strategy that most people never learn. You learn to smile while people underestimate you. You learn to document everything because your word alone will never be enough. And most importantly, you learn to think 3 moves ahead because everyone else is waiting for you to fail. I spent the next week doing research. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Janet, who specialized in cheating spouse cases. Within 2 weeks, she had everything documented. Photos of Liam and Candace at restaurants, hotels, even in his office after hours. Bank records showing he'd been spending money on jewelry that I'd never seen. credit card statements for romantic getaways that he'd told me were business trips. But the most interesting thing Janet found was information about Liam's business finances. His company was doing well, but there were some creative accounting practices that put him in a very vulnerable position legally. As his wife and business partner, I had access to accounts and legal rights that he'd forgotten about in his rush to build his empire and chase his mistress. The plan started forming in my mind, like pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. Our anniversary party was in 6 weeks. All of our friends and family would be there. If Liam wanted to humiliate me by carrying on with his mistress under everyone's noses, then I'd give him exactly what he wanted. But I'd also give myself something in return. I started moving quietly. I set up new business accounts under my maiden name. I documented every financial transaction, every business decision, every legal loophole that Liam had carelessly left open. I researched divorce lawyers and found the best one in the city, a woman who'd made her career destroying unfaithful husbands in court. I prepared documents that would protect my assets and expose his infidelity to everyone who mattered in our business world. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal. Kissing him goodbye in the mornings when all I wanted to do was scream. Listening to him lie about his whereabouts when I already knew exactly where he'd been and who he'd been with. Watching him text her right in front of me, thinking I was too stupid or too trusting to notice. But I played my part perfectly. I planned our anniversary party like the devoted wife he thought I was. I sent out invitations to all our friends and family. I hired caterers and a DJ and rented tables and chairs for our backyard. I even made sure to invite Candace, his indispensable assistant, because after all, she'd worked so hard to help make his business successful. It only seemed fair that she should be there to celebrate with us. The week before the party, I put the final pieces of my plan into motion. I had Janet install security cameras around our house, hidden but positioned to capture everything that would happen. I scheduled all the financial transfers for midnight on the night of our anniversary, using the legal access I had to our joint business accounts. I prepared divorce papers with my lawyer, ready to be served the morning after our celebration. Liam had no idea what was coming. He was so focused on his affair, so confident that he was smarter than me, that he never noticed I was 3 steps ahead of him in every move. He thought he was the player, but I was the one controlling the game. The night of our anniversary party arrived with perfect weather. Our backyard looked like something from a magazine, with string lights hanging from the trees and tables covered in white linens. All our friends were there, laughing and celebrating what they thought was the perfect marriage. My parents flew in from Atlanta, beaming with pride at how successful their daughter had become. Liam's family was there too, his mother telling everyone who would listen how proud she was of her son for finding such a wonderful wife. If only they knew. I watched Liam work the party like the charming host he'd always been. He told stories and made jokes and played the part of the devoted husband perfectly. But I noticed how his eyes kept finding Candace across the crowd, how he'd make excuses to walk past where she was standing, how she'd smile at him in that secretive way that said they shared something private. As the evening wore on and people started drinking more, Liam got bolder. He spent longer talking to Candace, standing closer to her, letting his hand brush against hers when he thought no one was looking. But I was always looking. I was watching every move, documenting every moment of disrespect. Then came the moment that changed everything. The DJ put on a slow song, and couples started moving to the makeshift dance floor we'd set up on the patio. Liam walked right past me, his own wife, and extended his hand to Candace. She looked surprised at first, glancing around at all the people watching. But then she took his hand and let him lead her onto the dance floor. The music was At Last by Etta James, the song we'd danced to at our wedding 2 years earlier. And there was my husband, swaying to our wedding song, with the woman he'd been cheating on me with for months, right in front of everyone we knew. The entire party went silent. I could feel every eye turning to me, waiting to see how I'd react. My mother looked horrified. Liam's sister covered her mouth with her hands. Even the catering staff stopped what they were doing to stare at the spectacle unfolding on the dance floor. But instead of falling apart like everyone expected, I smiled. I walked calmly to the bar, picked up a glass of champagne, and raised it high in the air. "To new beginnings," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear, my voice steady and strong. "And to people showing you exactly who they really are." Liam finally seemed to realize what he'd done. He stepped away from Candace, his face going pale, as he looked around at all the shocked faces staring back at him. But it was too late. The damage was done, and everyone had seen it. The party ended quickly after that. People made awkward excuses and left, whispering among themselves about what they'd witnessed. My family stayed to help clean up, my mother shooting angry looks at Liam every few minutes. His family left without saying goodbye, clearly embarrassed by their son's behavior. By midnight, it was just Liam and me in our house, surrounded by the remnants of our anniversary celebration. He tried to explain, to make excuses, to tell me it wasn't what it looked like. But I just smiled and told him we'd talk in the morning. I had work to do. While Liam passed out drunk on the couch, still in his party clothes, I went to my home office and executed the plan I'd spent months preparing. I transferred funds from our joint business accounts to the new accounts I'd set up. I used the legal power of attorney privileges that Liam had given me when we became business partners. I moved money that was rightfully mine, according to the contracts we'd signed, but that he'd never expected me to claim. By sunrise, Cloud Tech Solutions' main operating account was empty. The money was safely in accounts under my control, ready to be divided fairly in our upcoming divorce proceedings. It was all completely legal, documented, and justified by months of evidence of his infidelity and breach of our marriage contract. I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table, watching the sun rise over our perfectly manicured lawn. At 8 o'clock sharp, there was a knock at the door. My lawyer had arrived with the divorce papers, just as we'd planned. Liam woke up to the sound of official documents being served. He stumbled into the kitchen, still drunk and confused, to find me sitting calmly with my attorney while she explained the terms of our divorce. When he tried to access his business accounts to prove he could fight this, he discovered they were empty. The look on his face was everything I'd hoped for, and more. Shock, panic, disbelief, and finally, the dawning realization that he'd underestimated me completely. He started yelling about theft and illegal transfers, but my lawyer calmly showed him all the documentation, proving everything I'd done was within my legal rights as his business partner and spouse. Candace arrived an hour later, probably expecting to console Liam and maybe start planning their new life together. Instead, she walked into a house where her lover was scrambling to understand how he'd gone from successful entrepreneur to broke and divorced in the span of 8 hours. She left quickly, and I never saw her again. The divorce was finalized within 3 months. Liam tried to fight it, but the evidence of his infidelity was overwhelming, and the financial transfers were all legally sound. I kept the house, half of his business assets, and my dignity. He kept his mistress problems and his empty bank accounts. The best part? Word spread quickly through our business community about what had happened. Turns out, publicly humiliating your wife at your anniversary party isn't great for your professional reputation. Several of his clients dropped him, and his investors started asking uncomfortable questions about his judgment and character. Meanwhile, my marketing firm flourished. Turns out, a lot of people respect a woman who refuses to be played for a fool. I gained new clients who admired my strategic thinking and my refusal to back down from a fight. Within 6 months of my divorce, my business was more successful than it had ever been. 6 months after that anniversary party, I ran into Liam at a coffee shop downtown. He looked tired, older, like the weight of his choices had finally caught up with him. He tried to apologize, to tell me he'd made a mistake and that he missed what we had together. I listened politely, then smiled and told him that sometimes the best thing someone can do for you is show you exactly who they are. He'd given me the gift of clarity, and I'd turned it into the foundation for a better life. Today, I run a marketing empire that spans 3 cities. I live in a penthouse downtown, with a view of the skyline that takes my breath away every morning. I travel when I want, buy what I want, and answer to no one but myself. I'm not bitter about what happened with Liam. If anything, I'm grateful. He thought he was playing me, but he actually set me free. The moral of this story isn't just about revenge, though the revenge was pretty sweet. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone make you settle for less. It's about the power of strategic thinking over emotional reactions. And it's about the fact that sometimes the people who hurt you the most are actually doing you the biggest favor of your life. Liam wanted to dance with his mistress at our anniversary party. I let him. But I made sure that dance cost him everything, while it gave me the freedom to build something better. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting mad or getting even. Sometimes the best revenge is getting ahead and staying there. If this story taught you anything, it's that underestimating a smart woman is the biggest mistake a man can make. Smash that like button if you're rooting for women who fight back smart, not just hard. Subscribe and hit the bell, because next week I'm sharing how I rebuilt my life and became even more successful. What would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments below.